Hello everyone, I'm Honk, but you can just call me Caleb, and welcome to my in-depth guide for Kragg in Rivals of Aether 2. Kragg's a big guy full of grappling capabilities and zoning setups to make some of the funniest, cheesiest, and dishonest things you've ever seen in a platform fighter. Though he's easy to pick up, there's many ways to innovate with him so that no Kragg main handles every situation the same way as another would. Here's an outline of the guide. Whether you're new to the character, want to learn how to use him competitively, or are new to the game as a whole, my guide aims to get your brain thinking and ideas floating in order to create some epic Kragg shenanigans. The first 10 minutes will go through his moveset, mainly focusing on every aspect of his specials. If you're familiar with that already, then feel free to skip to the end of that section. And then from there, the rest of the video will be a guide on how to use him in a more competitive environment. This video will not go too much, if at all, into stage picks and matchups, because as the release of this video, this game has only been out for basically like a month and a half. So it's really hard to give a statement on those types of things when the game is constantly changing with new characters, stages, and balance patches to come. With that in mind, I wanted to make sure that the things I talk about in this video will still hold up throughout the game's lifetime, but only time will tell on that one. I think that's enough clarifications though, so without further ado, let's go ahead and Kragg it up in here. Okay, so let's start with a basic and quick rundown of Kragg's moveset. So first you have your jab, and the first two hits of your jab can be cancelled to any of your tilts, just like this. Then you get your F tilt, which is your delayed backhand. Now you have an up tilt, which will scoop the opponent up, like this. Now you have your down tilt, which is a pretty quick and safe swipe, I'd say. And then you have your dash attack, which you can cancel into your tilts and jab as long as you've hit the opponent, like this. So you can just get a little B&B right there. But if you don't hit the opponent, you see how much end lag I have? This is your F smash. It's basically Bowser's old F smash from Melee and Brawl. It's really, really strong even with DI. This is your up strong. It's pretty good, although you can get a weird hitbox on the back end of it like that, and it won't do as much knockback, and it'll send at a really weird angle. But other than that, it'll be pretty fine and reliable. Here's the down strong. It's basically a basic slam. Basically, if you want to hit them with the strong move, but you're unsure of the direction of where they are going to be when you land the hits, that's a safer option than, say, F strong. It's also much quicker, too. His neutral pummel is pretty regular. It's going to remove chain guard protection, so that'll help as well. His special pummel will turn you into a Q, but we're going to talk a little bit more about this later when we get to Kragg's neutral special. Forward throw is a body bump. Back throw is Ken's wheel throw. Down throw is a simple butt stop. Up throw launches the opponent and slams them down, and there's a couple interesting factors with this one. You can actually go forward and back with this one. There's also this option to where if you move forward and you go off stage, it won't actually suicide kill you both. There's going to be a threshold to where you'll eventually just stop and bounce as if there were ground there. His nair is a spin where he travels down, back, up, just like that. His fair is a nice, simple, and strong drop kick. His back air is a much, much faster version of Bowser's old back air from Melee and Brawl, and that also will bounce you up, will bounce the opponent up a little bit like that. That's the angle right there. His up air is pretty much a simple uppercut, and his dare is a slam down to dunk the opponent. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of Kragg's moveset. This is going to be his neutral B. It's rock. And so you can throw this any direction you want. Down, up, forward, backward. Or you could just not choose a direction and just lob it forward like that. As you're holding the rock, you can't really do anything else other than throw the rock. If you get hit while holding this thing, your best kind of bet is really just to mash and just at the very least get this rock off you so you can do other options. It's also worth noting that your rock is omnidirectional, which means that wherever you throw it to is the direction your opponent's going to go. So if you throw it up at your opponent, it'll hit them up. And if you throw it down at them, then it'll spike them. Also, this is something very important you're going to have to keep in mind when you want to decide like where you want to throw, and it's going to extend like kind of the height of where you can actually throw and hit your opponent with rock. If you jump and lob, you're actually going to be able to catch it. So see, watch this. So you can catch it again, which means you get a little bit of extra height if you need it. so that you can create pebbles wherever you want, or if you want to get more of an aggressive throw, like that. That's just to help you realize how much flexibility you've got with rock. And this doesn't stop there. As you see, after I throw this rock, it stays there forever until I interact with it. I can stand on it and such. I can also attack it, and little pebbles will come out. These pebbles are also projectiles that the opponent will have to avoid. However, whoever attacks this rock will actually take ownership of the pebbles. So if Rano here attacks it, the pebbles hit me instead. It's worth noting, however, that the pebbles themselves are not omnidirectional, which means they're just going to basically send you forward or backward. The further the distance that these pebbles travel, the more spread they will get. So they'll spread out into the stage. If you could see, if I do it from here, they're not going to be that spread out much. But when I do it here, by the time that it reaches the end of the stage and the blast zone, the pebbles are already going to be much more spread out. There's lots you really need to know about rock. There's plenty of different angles that you'll need to learn for your pebbles, for your attacks, to see where the direction of them are going to go. It's important to know them so that you can cover most situations in terms of like advantage, edge guarding, even neutral as well. So I think for the most part for Kragg, most of the direction of where the pebbles are going to go are going to be pretty self-explanatory. Like up air is going to send the pebbles up and such. There's no surprise there. But I want to give like a basic rundown of some of like probably the most optimal moves to use in certain situations and direction. So, for example, if rock has been placed down for a while and you're just standing in front of it, basically just doing nothing, your quickest option is going to be jab 1. However, you're just going to have to look out when you use this because jab 2 is not going to send straight forward. It's going to choose a different angle for it. If after you're holding rock, you want to create pebbles to the side immediately, then what you want to do is just throw it down, glide back a little bit, and then just fair. Now, if you want to get a little bit more of a 45-degree angle in front of you, you can do down tilt on the ground. Or if you're doing it right out of the throw, you can do back air like this. Or if you want this weird kind of, I'd say like more 30 or 40 degree angle, you can do up tilt with rock behind you. Your side B will also send it pretty high up, but also a little forward as well. And if you want really high up, but also a little bit forward, you have Nair 1, basically, the very first hitbox of Nair. This one may be a little hard to hit at first, but you can use your aerial down B, which we'll get into, to give more of a downward-forward angle. And if you want straight down, you can just simply do dare, and you can even use your taunt as long as you're basically in the middle of the rock. Also, if you use neutral B in the air, or when rock has already been placed down, then you're going to get this little grab here. And if you remember when I talked about the special pummel, you're going to get turned into a cube. When you catch your opponent in your hands and turn them into a cube, it's basically the same as if you're holding a rock. So you have the same angles you could throw your opponent from, so neutral, forward, back, and such like that. However, opponents can also DI to influence where they go after they're thrown. It's also very much worth noting that although you hold and move around for a little bit, the game will force you to throw them after 60 frames. Each of the throws, when you cargo your opponent, each have really their own use. So, for example, cargo down is going to be a tech situation. It is techable, but if not, it can lead to some damage. You can do dare, up tilt, stuff like that. If you're unsure that you'll get a kill, you could just simply do a lob and just try to link it to some sort of attack. Usually up air or fair will be nice. But if you really want to kill, it really depends on the direction. You're gonna have to throw up. If you're very high to the sky, like if you use your pillar and you just ding dong like this, you should be able to kill like that. Okay, so because of this special move, Kragg is definitely going to have the most unique recovery in the game, and it's going to be his pillar. So it creates a platform for him to jump up and get back to the stage. And you see there, I get both of my jumps back. So I can jump, jump, pillar, jump, jump. So you would think at first, without knowing too much about the game, that I could just probably infinitely pillar since I'm on ground again. But no, in order to get access to your pillar again, you need to land on actual stage, not your or another Kragg's platform. So if I press up B again like that, I'm just going to do this little hop, which will give me some upwards and forward distance, and that's helpful, but it's not going to give me my pillar back. And plus, it's also going to destroy your pillar as well. This pillar also has a hitbox, so like that, and it can even drag opponents up, and depending on how it goes, you can link into some pretty cheesy stuff with it. It's very much worth noting that whoever stands on the pillar when it is destroyed or removed by Kragg, they'll be put into freefall like that and have some extra landing lag as well. Next we have his side B, which at first glance looks like a spin dash, and it may share a couple of other properties, but it's kind of going to be used much different, I'd say, than how Sonic would do it. First of all, it's a lot less safer, and any opponent ready for it is just simply going to parry it like that. If you want to get out of spin dash form, you could just press the special button again, however this is going to have end lag. You also can't jump out of it until you hit an opponent or some sort of object, like a rock, a pillar, Rano's bubble, and even your opponent's shield. So when Kragg is in his spin dash form, he's going to still receive damage, but he's also going to receive reduced knockback, although he will still receive knockback, so it's going to be harder to actually hit opponents. But he won't really be hit stun, so as long as you're not pushed back too far, you'll still be able to hit your opponent and be able to jump out of it and link it to whatever you may so choose. Your side B does not put you into freefall, so you could just do it over and over like this, and I'll still be able to recover like that. If you just saw right there, I did something interesting with my side B. So if you press the shield button right as you activate your side B, you're going to drop off like this. You're going to do like a little forward jump, and if you don't want to be as aggressive or forward with it, you can just keep pulling back like that. You need to be careful when you also use this, because you're going to lose your pillar charge if you use it. So see here, I use this, I try to place my pillar, and nothing happens because I use the side B shield cancel. Now we have Kragg's down B. These will basically create 3 spikes in front of Kragg. It's worth noting though that the spikes aren't going to appear out of thin air, so if I'm standing here, you know, the first and second spike may land on this platform, but you see that platform on the right, those 2 spikes are going to land there. So basically these spikes are going to appear on the highest ground below or alongside Kragg. It also has pretty consistent knockback for percent, and if you so choose to use down B in the air, you're just going to get a simple headbutt. However, this headbutt spikes and puts you in a lot of hit stun. So Kragg's get up and ledge normals, they're not really that unique. Some characters in Rivals do have more so unique versions of those get up options, but Kragg isn't one of them. But the same can't be said for his ledge and get up special. So his ledge special is like this delayed crystal that travels all along the stage, and it just interrupts anybody standing on it. As well as you have his get up special, which is going to scoop up the opponent and create a rock. I should say, as long as there's no rock on the stage already. And as you can see, depending on how far away you are from rock, sometimes it'll pick it up and create pebbles, sometimes it'll just destroy the rock and create pebbles, and if you're just too far away from it, then he's just gonna do a big clap. Alright, so let's get started into the neutral aspects of Kragg. So let's start with what I'd say would be the safe moves that you could safely approach with Kragg, to where you just want to watch what your opponent does afterwards. So first you have his fair, which you can space well like this and avoid a grab or something like that. Or just land him properly and you'll be able to avoid the out of shield option. You've also got Bear, which can do the same thing. You also have Down Tilt, which when spaced properly can be a nice little poking tool. And if you really want to, you can try Jump Cancel Side B. So while landing in with these safe aerials will be nice, you gotta keep in mind we are in a Rivals of Aether game, which means there is parrying, which means you could just simply call out a landing fair and that'll make that thing instantly unsafe. So you might want to get rid of that little automated behavior, as good as these safe moves will be for your neutral. You could try mixing up the timing, which you could use with something like, say, Nair or something. And while command grabs like Kragg's aerial neutral B can be parried, the timing of it is going to be different from when you perform your normal, safe, regular landing attacks. And so this is going to make it a really good option, and basically what your go-to option for, say, like a Tomahawk grab or something. So say they're stuck at shield, you just drop in on their shield, boom. Okay, now let's talk some out-of-shield options. So, admittedly, lots of landing aerials in this game are going to be hard to punish because they can be pretty safe. It's all about watching and knowing when your opponent hasn't properly spaced or timed the landing of their aerials, and so Knowing that is very important in terms of what outer shield option you want to do. If you're unsure, your best bet is going to have to be the spot dodge, roll, or just get out of there. I'd say a pretty comfortable option if you do want to have an aggressive outer shield option is just going to be simply Nair. However, grab works pretty well too, and if you're going to get crossed up, then your best bet's back air. Your dare is going to be a good whiff punish tool for when your opponent is stationary. So say your opponent mashes a tilt after landing with a safe move, you could punish that mashed tilt just by daring on them. Or you could mix up your landing and make your opponent prematurely up tilt so that you can punish with a dare. In any of these cases, as long as you're not at super low percent, it should be a combo starter. And if you're in dash dancing and your opponent tries to do a landing aerial on you and then they mistime it and then you can dash back, you can just simply link that into dash attack and that'll help you get your combo started. However, you have to remember that you can only cancel your tilts with dash attack only if you hit the opponent. And sometimes, once again, landing aerials can sometimes look less safe than they actually are, so in certain times you may try to dash attack and just end up dash attacking straight into a shield and getting punished for it. So just keep that in mind, just make sure you have the confidence for it, and if not, you can at least try and learn something. Now, Rock's going to be kind of a tricky move to use in neutral. It's definitely going to be really easy against lower scaled opponents, but higher scaled opponents are just going to be able to call out parries just like, not like that, but simply like that. So you want to mix up your throws, right? So you want to sometimes do neutral throw instead of throwing at them, but you still want to threaten your opponent to let them know that yes, I will sometimes just throw it at you. And of course just monitor and react to see if they're able to parry it or not, and decide if you want to keep just throwing it straight at them or just trying to lob it with an arc or any other shenanigans. You can use the pebbles too. It's like, get really creative with it, try to mix things up, be unpredictable, don't get too automated, and you can use rocket neutral just fine. Sometimes an opponent may be playing too fast and they may be only watching what they're doing, just trying to mix up their movement or whatever, just landing with aerials or whatever. Just any way they could be moving too fast. You could just use like a down B or something and it can call them out and you can get basically a free neutral win and lead into something. However, some top players will be moving too fast and will still be able to react to what you throw with. And like that, just like that, they'll be able to call out your down B and punish you. Try and make some as safe guesses as possible as when your opponent is playing too fast or anything of the sorts. You can use your knowledge of the down B spikes placement to know when some spots look safer than they actually are for the opponent. Just like that, and boom, you get a neutral win. Pillar can be a sometimes riskier option to use in neutral, but with well-timed and thought-out placements, it can work out for you. You can't just jump up at him and try and pillar. If you place it down, you need to be sure that what comes after placing it will work in your favor. Otherwise, it'll severely backfire for you. It can be used as a pretty nice landing mix-up, as it should be able to interrupt anybody not shielding or crouch canceling. If the opponent isn't dragged up by pillar, then you need to drop off the pillar immediately, preferably on the other side of the opponent. That way, there's a wall in between you two. And though you'll be at a little bit of a standstill, you should actually have more control in this situation, as you want to try and bait your opponent into breaking the pillar with a move they'll be able to punish. If they're not budging, you can actually pressure with rock and down B. The spikes of down B will actually travel past the pillar and won't even break it. Same could be said for the pebbles. You can also just hoop rock to their side if you really wanted to, or just simply wait for them to come to you and just throw the rock at them when they try. If they're still not doing anything, you may just be able to jump cancel side B onto the pillar just fine. When talking about combos in a platform fighter, you already know it's going to be quite freeform, you know? Especially in a game like Rivals of Aether 2, which is going to be very DI dependent. It's really hard to tell you what specific combos you should be doing at specific percents. And, you know, there may be better options at certain times, even with, like, specific DIs. I wouldn't say there's really a wrong answer most of the time. Most of the time, you can configure some sort of B&B that's pretty solid, as long as you just watch your opponent after you hit them and see how much hit stun they're in and determine what you can actually link it into. And there's always, of course, trial and error. It doesn't hurt to just try a couple things against a computer or just someone random online. And Kragg's moves for the most part, like I said, are pretty straightforward. His fair is going to send you forward. His up air is going to send you up for the most part. His dare is going to send you down. However, you can use some of the more niche hitboxes of these moves to get some more mileage out of them. So at low percents, if you're lucky enough, your fair is just going to be able to lead into grab. Your bear is also going to be really helpful too. It's going to bounce you up, and then at mid to high percents, you're going to be able to just keep juggling the opponent with hitfall bears. This move can really do everything for you. Like, it can be your neutral tool, it's your combo starter, it's your extender. Hell, it might be able to do your taxes. It won't get you a girlfriend though. So your up air has a sweet spot and a sour spot. Of course, when you want kills, you want to be getting the sweet spot of that up air, but your sour spot is going to be a lot more horizontal. And that horizontal part of that sour up air is going to make it actually easier to link into air neutral special. Of course, as we discussed earlier, your dash attack is going to be helpful to eventually link into an up tilt that'll scoop up opponents and send them into the air. Just like this, dash attack, jab, up tilt, simple B&B to help them scoop them up, and you can let your imagination go wild from there. So there's a few key moves that you want to finish your combos with, and it depends mainly on percentage and positioning. So if you want to get some early kills, then you should try to end your combos with aerial neutral beat or headbutt. They'll be great kill moves, but can also be kill confirms as well if they don't kill the opponent. For example, your headbutt links pretty easily to dare as long as you travel where your opponent falls. But when they're at higher percents, or are too far for those moves to land, then you may just want to use up air or fair instead. They'll have more reach and they'll be easier to land, as well as they'll still have somewhat respectable killing power. Depending on certain situations, your rock will also just be able to combo into itself over and over again. It can get quite dishonest at times, if I'm being honest. I'm so good. 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, whoa. And as you rack up damage, you may be able to put your opponent into situations where they're going to have to recover, which means we should definitely discuss ways to edge guard, because with Kragg, there's so many ways you can do it. You could just do a simple platform fighter where you just jump up and fair, call it like a high or low recovery like this, or something like that. That's all nice and fine and dandy, but of course you have rock and your pillar to help you think of some more creative ways and unorthodox ways to edge guard your opponent. Like I was talking about with the jump lob, fair, like that. You can get some extra height there. Or if somebody's recovering down, you just throw it down. If your opponent is close enough to you in edge guard range, you're going to want to be using rock instead of pebbles, because the rocks are omnidirectional, so you have more control of where you really want them to go. However, as rock gets out of range, you want to be finding the correct angle for pebbles in terms of where your opponent is going to recover. So say if they're recovering high, you may want to try to use Nair 1. Or if they're off to the side, you might just want to use the pebbles from fair. You can also jump up and use a high pillar, and that will somewhat limit your opponent's options in terms of recovering. It may, for certain characters, change the order of how they'll have to recover. One that comes to mind is definitely Loxodon, is you'll see Loxodon mains, they'll try to use their side B before they use their up B, because of course up B will kill them if they just can't make the ledge. But with Pillar, because Loxodon's side B is a grab and it doesn't have a hitbox, it's not going to be able to challenge Kragg's Pillar at all. Other up Bs can just smack through your Pillar, and Loxodon's not the exception, but because of the downward aspect of his up B, he'll have to try and, use like an aerial before he could either use his side B or his up B to get back to ledge. You can also place a rock on the pillar, and this is a bit of a bait, because if your opponent is kind of close enough and they try to attack the pillar, they may get spiked by the falling rock. And once they reach to ledge, you can use rock and pebbles to call out certain options. The downbeat spikes are very helpful against, say, ledge dash or jump out, because they basically cover like almost the whole ledge. And not to say you should become automated, but you're at less risk from getting punished from automated behavior. I'm kind of victim of this as well. Sometimes I just like to lob and down B over and over again as my edge guards.
He's been going for that that setup the entire set, where he does rock thrown upwards and then down special, and it covers like everything at ledge.
And I haven't really received any punishment for that. It just means you may not be performing like an optimal ledge trap is all. Now let's move on to killing. I like to think of Kragg's Fair and F-Strong as kind of the rude awakening in terms of the different DI that Rivals has from Ultimate. These moves are going to be killing much earlier for opponents who just don't know how to DI. And even then, it's not like you can always have perfect DI at every time, so F-Strong and Fair are going to be pretty reliable at killing for the most part, especially when you throw it at a time when opponents aren't really ready to DI. A good kill throw at high percents is going to be down throw because it can lead to just multiple things depending on like the percentage and the DI of the opponent. So it can lead into up strong, F strong, down strong, fair, and headbutt, and these can all be kill confirms. You can also drag opponents to the top using your up B, and if you're able to act first, you can grab them and try and special pummel to get like a little ding dong action going. Or if you think they're gonna break your special pummel, then you could just link pillar into up tilt into up air or something like that, and it should be able to kill. You also have your side B, of course, which you could jump out of. So if you don't know, real quick, you can actually cancel your jump squat animation into up strong. Just like that. And so basically you can convert your side B into jump squat up strong like this. And that'll be a very nice kill confirm for any player not ready for it. But once again, it is side B. Good players will be ready for it. So if you want to use it, you really want to like throw it into their face so they're not ready for it. Otherwise, they will be parrying that 24/7. Your side B is also going to be nice for tech chases, so you can lead to it there. Your bear is also a kill confirm. At certain percentages and DI, your bear will link into fair and headbutt, and it will most likely kill. And if you get a parry in your opponent, your best option is definitely going to be F strong. But that'll also depend on the positioning of where you and your opponent are on the stage. Now let's talk about disadvantage. Now, this is going to be kind of tricky because you are Kragg. You're a big guy. You will be eating shit and watching cutscenes. So that's why it's important to know when you're out of hit stun so that you can properly punish or escape if need be. A very solid interruption tool is going to be your pillar. It's very important to watch your opponent and see the kind of state they're in when you throw out pillar and disadvantage. Because depending on what happens, you may be able to get a punish. They may be able to act first. You may be able to parry their attack. They may buffer an air dodge. There's many different situations that can happen with pillar, and disadvantage is when you'd expect those things to happen. Also, they can just parry your pillar if they're ready for it. So it's about finding the right time and also not getting too predictable with it. And if you're not confident that you're going to be able to act first, you can always just hold your shield or buffer a parry. But really, other than that, Kragg doesn't have like a lingering hitbox like Rano does with his Dare that can help cover, or like a get off me tool like Nair. The best you really have is like Pillar. And so really, you're just going to be wanting to try to get the opponent off from under you. You can use side B to get a little extra distance. You can use either that or the shield cancel. But other than that, you're really just going to have to make sure you don't put yourself in a worse situation from what you do. It may even just be better to let yourself get launched into a spot where they can't hit you, like the areas where you need to recover. Of course, as we talked about Pillar, Kragg's recovery is probably the most unique in the game, because there's just so many ways you can do it. The Pillar is going to make Kragg the best character at recovering high, but that does not mean you should always do it. You may just become too automated, where you time your jumps and Pillar activation at the same intervals of time, and opponents can call this out and just simply fair you and the Pillar. So times like that where you just keep getting called out for that high recovery, you just have to remember that side B is not going to put you into freefall. And as long as you're in the spin dash, you won't take too much knockback. It can really get you that extra horizontal distance you need in order to reach ledge. And of course, you can mix it up. You could side B, exit out, and then side B again, or you can side B, exit out, and side B jump. There's so many ways to do it, and so many ways to mix it up. It's just, you just can't be doing the same things. When you go low for recovering, you really want to make sure you're in wall jumping range. You need to make sure that your side B shield cancel will reach the wall so that you can wall jump and then use it again to reach ledge. Don't forget your aerial dodge as well. Here's another thing that you can keep in mind when recovering. If you save your double jump and you decide to side B jump, wall jump, you can actually use your double jump to poke with some sort of aerial, like this. This will be able to catch anybody who's standing near ledge. Your best bet for this option is going to be back air, but if you could think of some pretty creative reversals, then by all means, try different aerials. And when you know when you're going to place your pillar, you really need to watch what your opponent does. If they're coming at you, you may just need to wait and shield before you do anything. Jumping out at the wrong time will be your death sentence. Of course, you have your rock to help cover your options. For example, if you're really high like this, you could just rock, short hop, down B, like that, to cover that ledge right there. Or if you're low, you can throw it up or lob it at the ledge. However, rock on pillar is a very committal option. Basically, if you pick this up, you should know that your opponent is not going to be able to hit you the next time you're able to throw this rock. Because if you're not in a safe spot and you try to pick up rock, you just die like that. Thank you so much for taking time to watch my Kragg guide. If you got more questions about the character, or just Rivals of Aether 2 as a whole, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. Also, you should check out the rest of my channel. I know that at this point what I upload to the channel is completely unpredictable, but I'm sure there's something else in there that you may like, so check it out. Alright, take care y'all.